What if Leon, the sex Kennedy from Resident Evil, was a diabetic? Leon Kennedy is one of the main characters from the Resident Evil franchise, most prominent for his appearance in Resident Evil 2, first appearing on the PlayStation back in 1998, as well as a popular remake release version of the beloved classic. Back to the essential topic at hand. What if Leon was a diabetic? Leon is more likely to have type 1 diabetes, as he is neither obese nor addicted to fucking up his kidneys with the constant consumption of soda. But for the sake of the video, we are going to assume that he has type 2 diabetes because that would be really stupid. Now, how did Leon somehow get this diagnosis? Well, the reasons are as un-Leon as they get. Factors that lead to type 2 include insulin resistance, weight and or obesity, physical inactivity, smoking, and the usage of drugs such as steroids. Now don't get me wrong, Leon is fit, has a body of iron, even as a rookie, and has balls the size of a dump truck. But let's just say that Leon we got in Resident Evil 2 was the kind of Leon with type 2 diabetes. In other words, a lazy chain smoker. That's as far as I'll go. I'm not going to take the time to depict or imagine an obese Leon, I'm sorry. Anyways, let's take the time to imagine Leon back in Resident Evil 2, a diabetic. First day on the job as a rookie cop. How did he pass the police academy training if I supposedly made him a lazy chain smoker? Of course, the reason lies in the same reason Chris managed to right hook a big ass boulder back in Resident Evil 5. That's how. Anyways, so get this. We have Leon approaching the gas station just outside Raccoon City. Actually, no. Scratch that. We're going to look at 3 categories for Leon. And then we're going to rank his achievability in those 3 categories on a scale from 1 to 5. The categories are survivability, relationships, and general. In the relationships category, we talk about the way he would interact with the variety of characters he meets along the way. Major spoilers for Resident Evil 2, by the way. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. Finally, we have general. These things include basics like collecting items, how he gets around each location, the way he solves puzzles, and a variety of mumbo-jumbo. That should be it. Now let's discuss. Leon is a lazy chain smoker. He still has the training he received at the academy. Miracles really do exist. But besides that, I really don't think Leon would go completely unscathed. A big factor of type 2 is a lack of exercise and physical excursion, meaning that Leon taking on boss after boss would eventually beat his bones back to the Stone Age. He would mostly likely crumble like a bag of bricks under the immense pressure and a loss a majority of boss fights. But let's just say he had type 1 instead. Of course, he would most likely still have his adept athleticism, because type 2 is a lot more cause and effect rather than just the symptoms themselves. An effect of being a diabetic would be erectile dysfunction, meaning that Leon's poor performance would be perceived at bad moments in the games. And yes, I mainly mean this scene right here. It would scare Claire off and disgust Ada and most likely weird out the male characters. Would this actually happen? Probably not. Is it the only thing we're inhibiting or taking into account with his relationships as well as other characters? Not exactly. There's only one character I can think of that would dig this side of Leon, and we're not going to discuss that. But anyways, there might be one more thing. A major symptom of type 2 is the constant need to use the bathroom. Imagine all the times he's interacting with Ada and Claire, and out of nowhere he just pops a bone. Out of nowhere he just needs to use the bathroom. Multiple times out of nowhere, mind you. If I was Ada, I would ditch his ass. If I was Claire, I would be dead. Moving on. Now, in general, it would be very diminishing for Leon, but only by one factor: time. Like I said, he would waste a lot of time looking for a bathroom, anything to ensure his bodily fluids are released. Would also really crave a cigarette, because I almost forgot we made him a chain smoker. This would waste so much time that he would blow up with the rest of Raccoon City. Time for the conclusion. All in all, the survivability for Leon would be a 3.5 out of 5. Essentially pretty mid, basically, if we're considering the type 1 diabetes scenario. Of course, I had to give him some leeway here because the other stats are really bad. Relationships, I would give him a 1 out of 5. I mean, popping a boner on the first date is pretty bad, and admitting it in front of your relationship is gonna be pretty bad, okay? That's really bad. And then popping a boner in front of male characters, okay, that's just sad. As for general, a basic 2.5 out of 5. Of course, it would interact with how he collects his herbs and basically the amount of herbs he would collect. But it would also interact and fail the way he takes on bosses because he would be out of breath by the time he gets there. Of course, that's my opinion. Please don't bash me in the comments. Anyways, GG's no